Hey everyone, and welcome back to Timeless. Today we're going to be playing one of the premier decks of the format, Dimir Tempo. I actually just played this deck for the first time the other day, and I have been crushing with it. I am 9-2 in matches right now for an 82 win rate. This deck is awesome. I got this list from Chest Hair, so if you want a expert explanation of this deck from someone who's played it for hundreds of games, definitely look him up on YouTube. But we are here to try out this deck, and it has absolutely not disappointed me so far in my playing. I'm going to organize the cards just a little bit, just to make the deck a little bit easier to understand. So we're going to go ahead and put creatures in a column, we're going to put card advantage in a column, and then we're going to put our answers in a column like that. So this is a tempo deck at its core that has a suite of very efficient, very aggressive creatures, backed up by a bunch of counter magic and removal, as well as card advantage for the late game and card selection for the early game. A lot of these cards are absolute slam dunks and all stars in the format right now. Psychic Frog is an awesome card and one of the best mid-range threats you can play right now. It is a creature that comes with built-in evasion, a built-in ability to grow itself, and card advantage whenever it connects with your opponent. And you will have a pretty easy time keeping the board clear against every deck except energy with all this removal that you are playing. Up next is Orcish Bowmasters, format staple. We all know this guy by now. We have Nethergoyf, and this deck is a fantastic home for him because you are filling your graveyard pretty aggressively. You do have almost every card type under the sun. You're cracking baubles early to put cards in your graveyard. You're cracking a bunch of fetch lands, putting instants in there, sorceries in there. Your creatures are going to get answered at one point or another, growing it even faster. So this guy is pretty routinely a 4-5 or a 5-6 by the mid-turns of the game, which is absolutely fantastic. And then we have 3 copies of Tamia, who is a obscenely strong 1-mana card. She comes with a little bit of card advantage on her front side, but the real menace here is the back side. Once you flip it, it is game over for a deck like Energy if they can't remove it or they can't attack through that debuff. And it can also end the game in a couple of turns against Control and other slow decks that cannot answer her, because you will eventually draw half of your library. We have Brainstorm in the deck, as well as Treasure Cruise for the easy flips of Tamio, and I've also flipped her with Bauble before. So it's very, very easy to transform your Tamio in this deck. Speaking of baubles and cruises, we do have a card advantage suite for the deck. We have Brainstorm, which of course flips Tamio quick, but we're also playing a bunch of fetch lands with it. We have 4 copies of Bauble, partially to grow the Nethergoyf, partially for card selection when you use fetch lands. We also have, and they're also very good with our companion Luris, of course. Very great thing to buy back. We have the 1 copy of Nightmare that just Terra added, and I love this card. Everybody knows I love this card. This is a great late game enchantment. It gets cut out in matchups where you don't have the time to grind, but I love playing with this card. We've played with it so much in Energy. And then lastly, 2 Treasure Cruises. This card is obscenely strong, practically broken in the format. We're playing Mystic Sanctuary in our mana base, so in longer games, you are going to be buying back Treasure Cruise again and again and again. In shorter games, you're going to be buying back Mana Drain again and again. Mystic Sanctuary is an absolutely busted card, and I'm so glad that this deck is actually able to properly leverage it. Lastly, for the answers, it's a bit format dependent, but right now we're playing 4 copies of actual factual mana drain. This card is incredibly strong. Most often you just use the colorless mana to put Luris into your hand and negate the nerf that he was once given. We have 4 discard spells that we've split between Inquisition and Thoughtseize. We have 4 Fatal Pushes in the main deck. We got 2 Drown in the Loch as a very versatile and flexible card. And then we have 2 copies of Sink into the Stupor as an MDFC land, because this deck doesn't need very many lands. We only have 18 because we are a Bauble plus Brainstorm deck. This technically brings us up to 20 lands in a pinch. And that is it for the main deck. Of course, there are a lot of cards that are bad in certain matchups, but we can, of course, sideboard them out and use access to our sideboard. For example, these are going to be bad against Energy. These are going to be bad against Show and Tell. So, looking at the sideboard, we do have a variety of cards for a variety of matchups. First, we have Spell Pierce, which is for anybody with controlling aspects to their deck, combo aspects to their deck, but you can also use it against Energy just to Spell Pierce their removal spells. Spell Snare, which is fantastic against a lot of the meta decks of the format right now. It's absolutely fantastic in the mirror match. It's also fantastic against Energy. There are just so many cards that cost 2. And this deck is very interested in staying mana positive on spells. So this spell is always +1 mana positive. It is a card that will save your ass when you're on the draw. If you're on the draw, your opponent opens turn 1 Guide of Souls, and then turn 2 they try to play Amped Raptor. You can counter that Amped Raptor on the stack, thank God. Otherwise, you would lose the game. Up next is Stern Scolding, same idea. This comes in against energy and similar decks as a catch-all counterspell for their creatures. We have 2 copies of Bloodchief's Thirst as an extra removal spell. Lyris decks are very, very prevalent on ladder right now, so this is just a 1-mana way to remove any of their cards, as well as a Johnny when it flips into a Planeswalker, which is super, super nice. Up next, we have Surgical. And I did make a few tiny changes to Chestier's list, if I'm remembering correctly, and I think this is one of them. He had a bit more of a diversity in graveyard hate, and I just went for 3 copies of Surgical instead. I think Surgical is very strong in the meta right now, and it is the best against the combo decks in the format. I do kind of miss having access to Unlicensed Hearse. He had 1 copy of that originally, and in the mirror match, I would agree Unlicensed Hearse is a bit better than having access to Surgical. I wouldn't bring in Surgical in the mirror, but let's see how 3 copies of Surgical works for us. It's worked for me so far. We have 1 copy for DT in the slower matchups. DT is a card that allows us to get whatever sideboard card or whatever answer out of our threat that we need. At the moment, it's not in the main deck because otherwise we would get run over by energy. But if we're ever in a slower matchup or one where the sideboard cards are super important, we could Demonic Tutor, and having Demonic Tutor essentially gives us 2 copies of something like Disruptor Flute, which is going to be very strong against decks that have certain activated abilities, something like Goblin Carbelcher that's just trying to win with 1 card. And you could also use it to tax somebody's win con. Like you could throw this thing out on Show and Tell, and now Show and Tell costs 6 mana, which is going to buy you a lot of time. And then last but not least, we have 2 board wipes against the energy decks. We got Toxic Deluge and we got the Meathook Massacre. Toxic Deluge S tier removal spell, and Meathook Massacre is also really, really sweet in the format right now. It's a little slow, but I'm going to keep trying it out and keep playing with it. I believe that's the basic overview of the deck from me. Let's go ahead and get into the gameplay. All right, game 1. We are going to be up against Tarask. So what do we like about this hand? What don't we like about this hand? This deck is not super straightforward to pilot. I haven't had too much trouble with it, but there is a lot of thinking and a lot of non-similar gameplay between different games. So here I like this hand because we could start out with an Inquisition up first, and if our opponent is on the aggressive creature grind, we could go Fatal Push, Drown in the Lock to answer 2 things really quickly. We don't have double blue for our mana drain, and this one land is kind of painful. We're going to be operating on like 2 basics more or less, but this is definitely fine to keep. We certainly draw out of it once the draw spells do show up. All right, and there is a Tamiyo. All right, so now we get the grand question of, are we going to push this Tamiyo or are we going to take a look at their hand? It's going to be a mirror match, which is awesome to start out. I think we want to take a look at their hand. I think information is going to be pretty key in this mirror match. So let's go ahead and take a look here. All right, taking a look-see. I think I'm most interested in taking the Orcish Bowmasters. Orcish Bowmaster is going to tax my Brainstorm, as well as any future card draw spells I draw, which is a lot of them. These other cards are just 1-for-1s, and I think this matchup's going to get dictated by who can get a bunch of 2-for-1s going. I'm a little worried because my opponent's going to get a 2-for-1 with Tamiyo. They're going to get a treasure when they attack. Or not treasure, a Canoe. But I still am most interested in taking a Bowmasters here. Let me think. I take a Thoughtseize instead to defend my hand. No, let's go ahead and take that Bowmasters. Yeah, our opponent can go. And they can take a look at what's in here. If they don't take Fatal Push, I think I'm just going to push the Tamiyo. If they do take it, I think I'll drown the Tamiyo. Okay, they take my land. Oh, maybe I should have taken that card if they were going to take my land. Forgot about that for a second. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. Take a look, see at what's on top, inform our decision. A Bowmasters. That is very bad for us, actually, because we need Brainstorm to draw out of this. But we could Bowmaster their Bowmaster, assuming that a land does show up at some point. There it is. Right on time, of course. Right. Yep, we're just going to Bowmaster their Bowmaster as it comes down. Honestly, I might be even more disciplined than that. I think we'll go to their end step just so I can hold up Counterspell, just in case it's needed. Right. Oh, okay, yeah, they're being super disciplined too, because they also know I have the Bowmasters. Ah, they're going to put Thoughtseize on top again. Makes sense. That's a big, healthy boy. We can Fatal Push him, though. I think I'm interested in resolving my Bowmasters. Perhaps trying to Brainstorm? This is tough. Yeah, okay, they're gonna Bowmaster first. I'm cool with that. I'll kill their Bowmasters with mine. Totally cool with this. That's the outcome I wanted. Alright, let's get a basic island. I'm gonna Bowmaster your Bowmaster here. Okay, that's fine. My Bowmaster dies, but so does yours. Okay, and then I could bolt this in just to prevent them from thought seizing me. I don't think there's too much reason to that. I think we're supposed to just play this slow. I know what they're drawing. I'm just going to let them thought seize me. And I'm going to Fatal Push this Netherglyph. Alright, let's go ahead and trade here. We're going to Fatal Push here. And now, as you can see, we're up on card advantage and the board's going to be empty. So this is going to be big for us. Big if true. Alright, my opponent does get one draw here, so we'll see what it is. It wasn't anything that they could play at instant speed, at least. So my opponent can look at my hand. They could take either a counterspell or take a Brainstorm. Brainstorm is objectively the most powerful. Yep, and that is what they will end up taking. I think we're just going to pass with our Mana Drain up. We're just going to wait for them to do something. When we Mana Drain, we could put Lurrus into our hand. Okay, and if they just put Lurrus into their hand, I'm totally cool with that. Ooh, Bowmasters. Great. They could, of course, have their own counterspell for the Mana Drain. Oh, they might just be escaping here, maybe? Nope. They're just chilling because they know I have the counter magic, but I do also have the flash threat. So we can get slightly on the beatdown and try to back it up with counterspells. Alright, we can get on the 1-1 beatdown. Sweet. It's another piece of interaction. So if they do escape this little glyph, wow, he's a big boy. He's a 5-6. What a large lad. That's a little problematic because... Yeah, that is problematic. Do we just let them do this? I think we do. I would love to be able to Mana Drain something and gain the mana. I'd also love to keep this Fatal Push. But I also need to make sure I can counter Lurrus on the stack so they don't get free value out of it. I'm going to escape their Goyf here. This Goyf will probably come back as slightly smaller than a 5-6. So they can only escape it so many times is the thing. Yeah, down to a 4 or 5. That's fine, that resolves. And then on your end step, I'm just going to push it out of the way. And then they can escape it one more time. It's just going to be very, very small. Ooh, that's a good one. However, I can't let them resolve Lurrus, so we're going to have to wait until they get impatient and try to jam the Lurrus before we play Nightmare. This is a game-winning card, though, whenever it shows up. We just loop some Bowmasters and win the game. We got 2 Bowmasters in our bin. Just loop them forever. If we draw a Mana Source, a black Mana Source specifically, then I think we're in a great position. Looks like they're going to escape again. I don't really mind it. Alright, he's a 1-2. I don't even think I'm supposed to remove this, to be honest with you. Oh, I could just take the Lurrus now? Yeah, that's a good idea. Really stymied on black mana, though. But I don't think it could be a bad idea to remove this Lurrus guy. Go ahead and take that Lurrus. I knew they didn't have a counterspell, because if they did have a counterspell, they would just play Lurrus and they would counter me back. So I could assume there that my Inquisition was free to resolve. And then we gotta think, coming up next, do we want to hold up Drown or do we want to try to jam this Nightmare and try to get some value? Bowmasters, you got it. Alright, well, I think the game made the choice for us on whether or not we can play Nightmare. Ah, there's my Mana Source that I wanted too. So what we could do is we could just chill. They're going to be able to Fatal Push my Luris as soon as it comes down. I'm thinking of putting that into my hand. I think we're just going to hold up Drown here. I'm going to pass the turn. Right, and I think I'm supposed to take damage at least once. And then maybe I can kill one of their Bowmasters now, but I'm still really not feeling it. Oh, that's a good one. Alright, I'm going to play Psychic Frog. This is a card that could take over the game. We're going to defend it from Fatal Push. Absolutely going to defend this. Counter target spell. Cool. And if they don't draw more removal, then Psychic Frog can start taking over the game. Okay, yep, you can put that right on top. Alright. Alright, so we gotta think about what's up next. We can defend our Psychic Frog yet again. I'm a little concerned that they're gonna start getting some free shots with Bowmasters. So what I could do is I could just put Luris in my hand, and then think about Nightmaring soon. Maybe that's a good idea. Yeah, I like that idea. Put Luris into my hand. I'd have to shock for it. I'd also be taking a lot of damage on the Crackback is my only concern, because they get to swing at me, and they're going to have some bigger orcs. They're going to deal 1 damage of ping to me. I think we should take our free card where we're being given it. So let's get rid of some instants. And we got a lot of instants. Let's get rid of all those. We want to keep all the card types for our little ghosts if we draw them. I'm going to go ahead and attack you. Draw a card. Okay. Ooh, that's a nice blocker, actually. So, you know, instead of Luris to hand, what we're going to do is we're going to play Tamiyo. And then we're going to Nightmare Tamiyo into a Bowmaster. And we're going to hold up our counter spell. Alright, our opponent's surveying the graveyard to see the damage. We're going to get to loop these Bowmasters for a very long time. I'm most interested in just getting rid of this one so I could start more freely drawing cards. Wonder what they're thinking about. Do they have a counter spell? They got nothing, apparently. Alright, 1-2. Welcome back, Bowmaster. If they screw with this somehow, I'm definitely countering it. Okay, they don't. Bowmasters goes to your graveyard. Awesome, and then I just pass with counterspell up. And then I think we're back in the driver's seat unless this last card that I don't know about is relevant. There's a chance it is. It probably isn't if they haven't played it yet. Right, like I said before, I'm going to defend this frog with my life. You have another counterspell? Oh, wow, nice. Alright, so that crazy frog, he's dead, unfortunately. But we can just buy him right back with Nightmare, so it's really not the end of the world. We are going to have to take the damage here, though. I could just block with Bowmasters here if we want to, like, Chthonian Nightmare, buy back 1 Bowmasters. I think that's a little too cute, though. I'm going to take the damage. Okay, do not want that card. So we definitely want a Nightmare. And then I'm very interested in just buying back the frog, and it's the question of, am I supposed to buy back even more stuff? Like, I can buy back the other Bowmaster, sacrificing the token, and then sacrifice the new token to get back the frog. Or I could put Luris into my hand. And I like the idea of that double buyback. Let's do that. So 1-2. Buy back Bowmasters, get rid of the token. Deal 1 damage to them. So now if they draw a draw spell, which is one of their outs, they're going to gain a lot of damage. They literally can't draw a Brainstorm without dying. And then we're going to bring back Psychic Frog. Very nice. I'm going to go ahead and block with Psychic Frog here. We'll take 2. The slot seize is totally useless at this point in the game, so I'm happy to just turn it into a counter. And if my opponent decides to use a removal spell on the frog, I'm just going to buy it back again. Alright, nice, nice. Big game 1 win. Alright, big game 1. Like I said, I'm new to this deck. I just picked it up somewhat recently. I did play 11 games with it, but that's not as much as I have on some other decks, and this deck's very complicated. So in the mirror match sideboard, we are probably not... Actually, let me check Chest Hair's guide really quick. Yep, and then we're going to want... I'm going to put the Drowns back in. I'm figuring this out on the fly. All right, sorry. I misread his guide and confused myself. I sideboarded that wrong at first. Sorry. I think I got it wrong at the end because I read the wrong section and then confused myself. Anyways, we're going to be running it back. We got a Goith and we could back it up. Our opponent is going first. But if we don't get run over here, we're looking pretty good. I am just a little concerned because we lack 1 minute interaction. If we had like a spell snare or something to prop up this hand, I'd be a lot happier. But I think it's still okay to keep this.
If you need me, I'll be in the library.
I want to fetch actually, so my Netherglyph doesn't... Oh, I can't fetch. I have both my Watery Graves. So I want to fetch to make sure Netherglyph's not 0-1 so it doesn't die to Bowmasters. But I only have 2 Watery Graves in the deck, and I drew both of them. I think what I'm supposed to do here is probably just Surveil. All right, Tamio is going to flip very, very early. That is bad for us. It's about as bad as it gets. See, that's what I meant when I said I wanted 1 minute interaction. It's going to be difficult to impossible to answer this card at this point. Do Bowmasters even help? I think it helps a little bit, but we can just die to a Spell Snare here. I think we gotta look for 1 mana interaction. Oh, you know, one of the reasons... Oh, I get why we do Thirst over Push, is so that you can answer a Tamio. It's at least part of it. So what do we want to do here? I think we want to pass the turn, flash in Bowmasters if possible. This is tough, because we have to somehow answer this Tamio, and I don't know how. I don't know how. I think we just lose. Drawing out to like our 1 copy or 2 copies of Thirst is not it. We can't attack this.
I am not defenseless.
Okay, we can ping it at least.
Aggression is unbecoming.
Okay. Maybe we have a shot. I can play this Goyf. I'm gonna hold up interaction in the form of Mana Drain. We're like so close to dead though. This is so problematic. All right, your turn, man. This card kind of needs to live, but I don't think I can afford to Mana Drain that. I think it's correct to hold up Mana Drain onto my opponent's turn and answer whatever threat they have, but I could be totally wrong about that.
Think before you act.
Alright, please play something for me to drain so that I can play some Nightmares next turn. I have to drain this, I think. Especially since I didn't want to drain a removal spell before, I think we're going to drain this one. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, we lost. All right, I screwed up game two. That's my bad. I'm gonna think really quick about what the correct sideboarding is because I totally got it wrong. All right, on the play, we're going to want to add in Spell Pierces, Spell Snares, Stern Scoldings, the good stack interaction. We're going to want Bloodchief's Thirst to answer the Flip Tameo, which we just had trouble with, and we also will have time for Demonic Tutor while we're on the play. We're going to take out some of these removal spells for cards that are already resolved, and we're also just going to trim one copy of Bauble as it stands. Oh, right, we're going to be on the play. We have a Spell Pierce Spell Snare hand. Double Bauble to Scry. I think this is good because we have Demonic Tutor to get whatever we want, and we have a bunch of interaction, and we can play a Crazy Frog after that. So let's go ahead and look at the top part of our library. That is not a land, so I'm not interested. Let's go ahead and Surveil. You're also not a land. And then let's go ahead and look at your top card, and then draw some cards. All right, oh sweet. So next turn we can go Thoughtseize and then hold up one of these. And then the turn after we could play Psychic Frog with Spell Pierce backup. That's dope. Assuming we do hit that good third land. All right, opponent gets to Thoughtseize us and take a card, any one of our cards right now. And that will be the Thoughtseize. Makes sense, but I just ripped a really good one in Netherglyph. So now, wow, you're a 4/5 already? Dope. Yeah, I'm going to use Spell Pierce to defend this, definitely. And if they play their own threat, we're going to snare it. Yep, 100% going to pierce this. They might pierce me back. We'll see. Nope, that resolves. Cool. 5/6, he's so big. What a large lad. Right. Yep, and the other thirst will come through, makes sense. Okay. Ball. What do you got? You got a Brainstorm on top. So I could DT for Bowmasters to try to screw with that. What do I want to do here? We could just resolve this Psychic Frog while they're tapped out. You're going to be able to Brainstorm into an answer, which is kind of the problem. I could DT for, I don't know, a land drop. That seems kind of stupid. DT for anything. I think, I mean, their hand's got to be stacked with counterspells and removal, right? I'm not sure what to do here. There's a couple of acceptable paths to victory. DT for land, hold up Spell Snare is one option, just jam Frog is the other. Just hold up Spell Snare is the other. I think we're just going to jam Frog, but I'm really unsure about this decision. I don't know if this is correct or not. Like I said, I'm super inexperienced with the deck and super inexperienced with the mirror, especially. All right, my opponent gets to Brainstorm here. I did draw my own Brainstorm, which is awesome. So next turn we can Brainstorm with Spell Snare backup, because the main way they're going to mess with the Brainstorm is with a Bowmaster, so we can just counter that on the stack. I'm worried here about them just Fatal Pushing my stupid Frog. Definitely could happen. Okay, yeah, there you go. That's what we said would happen, right? Brainstorm, and then he just gets Fatal Pushed. Ooh. Another big threat, you say? I'll take it. We'll Brainstorm next turn. What a big boy. Wonder, would I be better off if I DT'd for a land? No, right? DT for a land, hold up Spell Snare last turn, doesn't do much for us. We'd still have Psychic Frog in our hand, but... Alright, another removal spell is going to be coming out, it looks like. Maybe they're just hovering my card to appreciate it. I need to have a 1-mana answer for it. I'm gonna snap off this Spell Snare on pretty much anything. Yeah. So they might be like Spell Piercing me back here, but I think it's going to be acceptable to trade for resources right now. Next turn we could try to Brainstorm and get ahead. Yep. That's gonna happen. My Goif dies. You got it. Ooh. Oh, okay. We get lucky. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Oh, I stayed up too late
Alright,
reading.
so what card do we want to keep?
Again.
We can keep Misty Inqui, and we can just look at their hand. Or we can keep DT. Yeah, I like the idea of keeping DT. I want to look at their hand, but I also want to keep Demonic. Dang. I wish there was a way to play Inquisition. Yeah, I wish there was a way to play Inquisition here without, like, having to shuffle. I'm going to put these two back. I might decide I want to draw the Bowmasters, so we'll stack it like this. But otherwise, we're going to fetch with Misty.
I hope you don't mind if I take notes.
And then we could DT for whatever card we want. It might just be another Goif to get the game over with, or to try to at least. Could go for a sideboard card instead. Yeah, they'll take my DT here. Okay. So I'm just going to draw the Bowmasters then. Because this is a very fine card to draw. And then I don't know if I want that spell right here.
Think before
I might. I might want to clear their hand before I decide to draw half my library. Bowmaster's coming out. Stern Scolding, sure. Alright, now, do we want to look at one card that's left in their hand? I don't think so. Inquisition might miss here, so I think what it's best just to fetch and draw a random card. What we could also do, we could also get something to protect our cards. Okay, awesome. They'll just scoop it up. All right, I was really unsure about that match. I know I didn't play perfect. I absolutely didn't, but we still like clawed out the win. We're still top 200. That turn I was thinking about, I just want to talk it out because I don't know if this is the correct line or not. I was thinking about minusing and like picking up a Spell Pierce and playing my Frog and protecting it. I could have also minus picked up a Spell Snare, minus picked up a Brainstorm. Oh, I could even get DT with that, right? It's any instant or sorcery. Oh yeah, we could have gotten DT. Not that I had the mana to use it. Yeah, this, like I said, this deck is so hard. It's not straightforward. I was uncertain of pretty much every single one of the decisions that I made in this mirror match, especially sideboarding. Like, I tried to start sideboarding on video, then I realized, oh shit, I don't know actually how to sideboard for the mirror. Let me pull up the guide. And I still barely understood what I was doing. All right, up next, we're going to be playing against a Greaseball. What we got? I think Greaseball, I've been talking to him a bit on Discord. He's working on a Shift and Tell variant. I don't know if he's still playing it. We played yesterday, and he was playing Shift and Tell. So, with the knowledge he might be playing Shift and Tell, I think I'm super happy to keep a hand that has a discard spell and go ahead and just discard him ASAP. I could maybe put a Gwaif down instead. Oh yeah, it's Shift and Tell. Oh yeah, we're shifting. I told him to smile. He's on camera in Discord. Yeah, that's why he paused. He's messaging me back. Okay. Yeah, so we're definitely Shift and Tell gaming. It's just the question of how do we sequence this? Do we want to just jam the Goif on turn one, or do we want to Thoughtseize? By which I mean Inquisition, of course. I think I'm down to Inquisition them ASAP. I'm gonna get a tiny bit more info by looking at their top card. This will help inform my decision. See, I would like to Inquisition this card. That's the card I would like to take. But unfortunately, if I let them draw it, they're just going to play it. So knowing that they're drawing this card, what am I taking? Well, I get one option. This is a good one for them to draw, though. Probably the best one. Unfortunately, they don't get to do anything with the first chapter, so they could just skip to chapter 2. Mill themselves a bit. So I played them yesterday, and they were playing the same version. It's really cool. Let me look at what they milled. So they can flashback a seed. I don't give a shit. Do I care? No. So they played this card plus Rumble, which we've played in other decks. So they essentially have 8 copies of Rumble to fill their graveyard, which is really sweet. Here, I think we're just supposed to just flash in a Bowmasters. I'm going to hold up Mana Drain just in case something really funny happens. But I think we're just supposed to flash Bowmasters on their end step. This is technically a little bit more damage. But I'd love to keep my counterspell up just in case. Seed of Hope is not really what I want to counter, though. Actually, with them casting Seed of Hope, did I really really need to hold up Mana Drain. I don't think I did. I think what I should have done is played Goyf and then surveilled, right? Because I know I have this one turn where we could be nice and counterspell free. Okay, okay. All right, so they will have One Ring mana if they draw a land, so we definitely want to hold up Mana Drain. We can take self damage here, it's fine. Flash in Bowmasters. Alright, they're at a healthy 22. Okay, cool. We drew an island, which means we can jam this Goyf and still hold up the drain. Okay. No land, no play, unfortunately. Yeah, so the game's just over for them at this point because, like, their One Ring is not going to resolve. Like, I'm mana draining whatever they do here. It's not going to be pretty. No. No, thank you. I play this. And you do that mana. They're technically not dead. It's just fun. But they can't draw a single card. Otherwise, they are dead.
I've read nearly the entire library.
They could, of course, like play a land, play a ring. We would need an untap painless land, of course. Okay, so against Shift and Tell. All right, I'm a smart boy. I could sideboard without the guide. We want DT. We want Disruptor Flute. We absolutely want these Surgicals. That's why I put all 3 Surgicals for this kind of a matchup. And we probably want the Pierces. Let's put these in temporarily. What cards are bad? Push. Bad, bad push. What else is a little bit weak in the matchup, if we think about it? Maybe Flute is not the best. Flute can just slow them down, but it's really not great. Oh, Nightmare. Do we have time for Nightmare? I think we do. Let me see what Chest Hair takes out against Show and Tell and what he puts in. So he puts in DT, Mystical Dispute. We don't have that in this version. Surgical Extraction. We do have that. Spell Pierce, Disruptor Flute. Okay, I'm overboarding. I'm putting in too much stuff. It's because I have those extra copies of Surgical. So we could just not play the Pierces, but I do love playing the Pierces. Okay, we can take the Pierces out and then just keep our plan streamlined. So essentially what we did is we put the Surgicals and the DT in, so we have 4 copies of Surgical. That is plenty good for me for Shift and Tell. Though I'm a little concerned I might want to spell Pierce still. Well, what gets cut for that, right? We can cut a Tameo for us spell Pierce, maybe? I'm just like very concerned about not having counter magic for them slamming a Show and Tell on turn 2 or 3. Okay, we got the Mana Drain, we got the Brainstorm, we have Surgical, we got we have DT, we have it all. We just have it all. I'm gonna cycle this bottle. Oh, we just have it all. Feels good to play the controlling deck. After all these years of playing energy and just losing to Show and Tell. Ooh, I do want to resolve this Tammy. Am I more interested in flipping Tammy or holding up Mana Drain? We can flip Tammy later. We don't need to turbo it. If we were against like energy or something, I would try to turbo it. Alright, Seed of Hope, please mill me an Omniscience. It would be so funny. Okay, we could think about Surgicaling Ring. That's an option. I don't know what's in their hand. If I knew they had one, I would do it. Aha. I will know what's in their hand. So I'll definitely go ahead Thoughtseize here. And then we can use this Thoughtseize to inform all of our decisions. The only hand that like beats me here is if they have like Island, double Show and Tell. Actually, no, I would just take the Omniscience. They had Island, double Show and Tell, Omniscience. I'm just trying to think of a way that they could possibly go off through a Thoughtseize next turn, and I don't think they can because of all these mulligans. We will take the Defense Grid. Yeah, unfortunately it was an awkward mulligan for them, so they're a little stuck on the mana.
Hmm. Is there a deeper meaning to this passage?
Okay, there is the Rumble. And then Emrakul, Fae of Wishes. They will take a land. So if I were to Surgical Fae of Wishes, do they have a win con? Asking the real questions here. I think they're gonna jam this Founding. If they jam Founding and mill themselves for 4, I hope they hit an Omniscience just so I could Surgical it. Honestly, what we could do is we could Surgical Fae and then DT for another Surgical. If we really wanted to, but I feel like that's so excessive. That's cyberbullying at that point. Yeah, so they're going to jam this Founding. They might read ahead. I mean, they should read ahead, really. I just want them to mill, a good old-fashioned Omniscience. Target player mills 4, yeah. Ah, there we go. Thank you. Oh, they have one with the multiverse, so they do have a backup here. They can still find that card and do their thing. So it's going to be a bit tougher for them. A lot tougher for them, in fact. Okay, so let's get our clue. I want to flip Tamio here, but I also want to think, like, what they're going to flash back. Probably, like, Seed. I don't care. Rumble, Seed. I don't care if they rumble again, right? They can, like, shift and copy things. I might DT for another Surgical, because, like, that's kind of their out. I don't think I care about them casting Binding. I'm going to Brainstorm and flip my Tamio first. Oh, another Brainstorm. Another Brainstorm, another Tamio flip. We want a DT for Surgical. I think we just put these two cards back. No, I want to clock them later. I guess second Drain is very unnecessary.
I'd love to hear stories from your home.
So I think the lose condition for me, the only way I lose this turn is if they hit the one with the multiverse. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab my other Surgical out of the deck.
Respect the library.
I could also go ahead and, like, Surgical whatever they copy here, if they want to cast the Rumble. But I would rather them cast Rumble, go through their deck, mill their other win con, and then Surgical that. It will be a little tough if they, like, jam that defense grid, though. They could put that into their hand and play it. Hmm. I wonder if I'm navigating this correctly. It's an interesting question of what they get here. Oh, they could shift copy Emrakul pretty soon, too, which would be a little troublesome, but we could always Surgical that. Surgical, then Tamio to minus, get my Surgical back. They're probably thinking whether or not it's better, if we look at the revealed cards again, do they take Defense Grid to defend themselves, or do they take mana? Because they can't even activate their shift as it is. Okay, they do take mana. That makes sense. Put their Null Drifter under that. Oh, a one. Wow. Okay, I didn't think that would happen. But yeah, you got a one ring. Oh, man. That's bad for me. Do I have a way to deal with this resolved one ring? Yes, I can sink into the stupor it. Yeah, actually, I'm not happy with this. I think I played wrong. So we can DT, get sink into the stupor, and then hold up mana drain plus surgical extraction. I think that's probably the best thing that we could do. Or we can just get threats on the board. That might be better. Let's threaten to draw half our library. Let's get some threats down.
Silence is not the answer.
We could think about buying back DT next turn. This is tough. So if they want to copy up Emrakul, they can. They need another green source. They found it. Okay, draw some cards. You got it. What are we doing? I think one of their lines is they can definitely copy up a big Emrakul and try to kill me. I don't know if they realize they have that line, but they can like kill me if they copy that up. Gonna surgical it though. Like they know I DT'd, so maybe they can assume that I have another surgical. All right, looks like they are gonna assume. Draw card. I am tapped out if you want to do some funny business. You're gonna Ugin's Binding while I'm tapped out? Send my Tamio home? Yep, Tamio goes home. All right, and then let's go ahead and surveil here. Oh, more hand hate? Yeah. Oh, no, I don't think we want hand hate. I think we just want to be able to control the stack. They're going to draw so many cards. We already have a piece of discard. I draw 3, though. I will probably do that next turn.
Perhaps there are more useful texts down on the surface.
Do that next turn after we mana drain them. Let's go ahead and take a look at their hand and then hold up mana drain. Oh, yeah. No show and tell for you. Scary part is that they can get like chaining rings. Also, like what we can do is surgical the One Ring to get this ring out of their hand, but then we lose to Shifting Woodland, copying up an Emrakul. Oh wow, they can just cast Devourer. That's bad. So they get to exile a permanent. Oh, and Ugin's Binding comes back too. Okay. Yeah, so they get to exile my Goyf. They get to bounce my Tamio. I think I'll let Ugin's Binding resolve here. Yeah. Unfortunate that that's going to die. This resolves too. So Ugin's Binding will resolve. Tamio goes home. But then we get a shit ton of mana here for next turn. Okay. And then 4 mana. We want to exile 3 cards from our library. So let's not exile any redundant types. Like that. Submit 3. Alright, cool.
I'll aid you. So focus on the fight.
Right. Yeah, once again, we're going to hold up mana drain surgical here. I think I'm interested in mana draining this ring. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, if you just want to like buy yourself time, I think that's acceptable to me. Draw some cards, yeah. All right, shocking in. Uh-oh. I'm not gonna let you legend rule those rings, man. You want to legend rule those rings, it's not gonna happen. Also, no thank you to that. Okay, that resolves. All right, and then with Tamio to lock it up, we're gonna go ahead and buy that back. Give me my surgical.
A good story can refresh the mind.
That's very true, Tamio. Yeah, we can play another Tamio. So opponent goes to 1 off of their 1 ring, and then they have to beat like mana drain plus surgical. I don't know if they can. I think we're supposed to mana drain the 1 ring here. What could they have drawn that would beat us? I don't know. We'll find out. They will draw a bunch of cards. What we're doing. They're gonna try to play a ring. I'm gonna counter this first ring, and if they have multiple rings, then so be it. They get another turn. Oh, maybe not. They do need to get rid of this ring or win. 2 options, right? And I think we're going to mana drain this. They have a lot of cards, but I'm thinking about what's in their deck, right? What could they possibly win? They could have like Show and Tell, one with the multiverse, but then they only get to cast 1 spell. And they don't have 13 mana Emmy anymore. I exiled that. Exiled enough nonsense from their deck. They have an Ugin's Binding in their bin, which is kind of tough. But we could surgical that if that ends up being a deciding factor. So the cards we lose to right now are specifically... Did I DC? Uh-oh. Oh, no, okay. I just disconnect for 5 seconds there. You saw my rope was going. That was weird. Okay. No yapping. I gotta lock in. We are going to use surgical to mess up their play if possible. I think they could possibly have show and tell +1 with the multi in their hand. That's the only line that could maybe lead to victory. And if they do that and they cast a 7-drop for free, we're gonna exile the Ugin's Binding. Just to make sure we keep our board state so that we could attack for lethal. But then they die to their own ring, right? Yeah, you die to your own ring here. I'm gonna put Luris into play. I don't know what the plan is. Yeah, there's one with the multi. Okay. You're dead to your own ring. So what are we doing? We're doing another ring? We're doing a Devourer, but you're still dead to your own ring. Exile my Luris, that's understandable. I'm gonna get rid of Ugin's Binding here. And that was their only cast, so I think they're dead to their ring, if I'm not mistaken. One in library, one in hand, they just have that. I think they're donezo. I believe they're donezo, but like, again, this is a new deck. Like, Respaw's figuring it out as they're going as well. They're innovating on this deck live. So they definitely have 3 mana, but like, what are they going to do with it? They're going to Founding? Yeah. Founding and then what? Founding and then be in the video. Alright, whoa, good game. That was a close one. Okay, I have a lot of colorless mana, nothing to do with it. I'll see if I can find a Bowmaster or something to kill him right now. Hey, speak of the devil!
I'd rather avoid a fight. But I'm not so easily defeated.
Oh my god, we did it, Reddit. What a match. That was a cool one. Okay, we'll cap off the video at 2 games, because those were 2, like, pretty decision-intense games that are going to take up, like, the hour runtime that I usually shoot for. So thanks for watching. Sorry if my play was not the best. I like to claim to be a timeless expert and claim my plays are really good. With this deck, I'm definitely still learning. I do sincerely think this is like the hardest deck in Timeless right now. So if you're thinking about picking it up, make sure you're pretty well versed in Timeless before you pick this up, or maybe just that you're a Tempo Decks expert and you've been playing Tempo Decks for the past 10 years, you're fine. Or if you're the kind of guy who loves thinking, you're also fine. But this is a tough deck. We're putting up some really good results with it, though. This is such like a skill rewarding deck. This is a deck that rewards your sequencing, your decision making. It's super fun for that reason. Every single game plays out different too, which is what I've noticed. Even when I get the same matchup, I play energy, it plays out different every game based on what my opening hand is and what theirs is. Of course, that's literally true for any deck, but this deck is to such a crazy degree. Sometimes you're on the beatdown, sometimes you're playing control and trying to steal a game with Tamio. It's super fun. I love this deck. I'm gonna keep playing it. Like I'm having success. I'm having fun with it, and I'll definitely post at least another video or two on this deck. This deck is awesome.